I think with the first lockdown, we saw a dramatic increase in the amount of leads that we were getting. And with second lockdown, I think there was a lot more apprehension, a lot more fear in the community in general. So we saw a dip. But as of the last couple of weeks, we've looked at some of the most interesting projects we've looked at in the past week or so. So it's been quite exciting. Okay, episode 2 of Site to Studio. Blazing start.
We're back.
Flying start to the podcast. We are recording.
Do we know how many people viewed the last one?
42.
Is that serious?
I checked it. I checked my podcast analytics today.
Your parents, my parents. Who else? The Masons.
Well, I've got 50 cousins and only 40 of them watched. No, I've actually only got 2.
Is that serious? I only had 40.
No. I did check the analytics earlier today.
Yep.
And lifetime downloads on the podcast platforms. But on YouTube, there's 200 views.
That's marginally respectable. Is it because people don't know about it, or because what we were talking about wasn't that?
Well, I think, we had a flying start, but not really, because we couldn't. Because right after that one, we
had no momentum, really, did we? There's no momentum.
No, there was going to be momentum, and then COVID lockdowns and whatnot.
Speaking about COVID,
we can ease into that.
Wow.
But we're finally coming out of lockdowns.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a wild ride, though, hasn't it?
Has it really, though? Don't you think in the construction industry we've just sort of been able to?
Well, I think what was reasonably normal up until the fact that, the whole process for us to run jobs was changed.
In what way? Oh, well, like 5 people on site.
Yeah, but also too, we're trying to administrate a project remotely with consultants, architects, clients.
Don't knock the table.
Sorry, I'm just making my point. Yeah, that was difficult. Like trying to get even just trying to get samples approved and things like that was difficult.
What about the general atmosphere of how people are? Is there a high tension? Are people more stressed? Are things? Is the machine as well oiled, or is it just moving slower, or is it stressed as well?
I think the individuals take away. I think the individuals across the board there was stress amongst people, and therefore some of that stress filtered through into the projects, no doubt, 100%. Yeah,
and of course we're coming up on Christmas now,
which is
its whole own thing. So December is its whole own thing, and then so I guess it's good we're coming out of lockdown as we go into December. Close the year with a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, but definitely I think there's been no playbook.
Yeah.
So you've been making it up as you sort of go along.
Yeah.
But a lot of stress on the admin side of the projects to try and, make sure you fall within the guidelines of what you're supposed to be doing and scheduling that's difficult.
Yeah. I think just that 5-person per day rule on your jobs, especially.
Everyone wants to know what effect that has.
Yeah.
But that, as you know, and most people, see on a daily basis, the majority of the projects that we do, some days you might have 3 people on site, some days you might have 15 people on site.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a huge fluctuation in resources that go on a project per day.
Well, on a job like say at George Street, we've just got to be mindful of our cheap squeaky chairs. On a job like at George Street, we have essentially 2 full-time carpenters on site. That leaves 3 people to work.
Absolutely.
Right. So how does that, even if, your HVAC guy needs a labourer to come on site for 2 hours for a lift, that's 1 guy for a day. That's a slot taken up.
Yeah. And don't forget, everyone is trying to be responsible.
Yeah.
Like the intent was good, I think, amongst the construction
Yeah.
Community.
Yeah.
I think everyone, obviously a lot of apprehension when it first came out because no one knew how it was going to unfold.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely an underlying. Obviously there's considerable fines.
Six-figure fines.
Correct. Yeah. So that was a fair incentive to try and adhere. But I think in general everyone's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I reckon everyone's been amazing. Just trying to work within the parameters.
Yeah, no, it's been. I think it's worked well. I think it's.
And I mean, we tried to implement things like we've got a bigger project in Cremorne, and we tried to implement. We're looking at trying to do like shifts. And we disappointingly though, we went to the council or the city Yarra, and we tried to get a sort of an alternative method to keep the volume of work going.
As in like noisy working hours?
Yeah, by working longer. So you start an hour earlier.
Yeah.
Potentially work until 7.
Yeah, especially with the sunlight now.
Yeah, but no, yeah.
So you could have like a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and a 2 p.m. to 7 or 6 to whatever it was.
Obviously just looking at ways just to try and.
Yeah.
And this might happen again. So. I don't think we're definitely out of the woods, but.
Yeah. But, overall, I think we've been pretty lucky in terms of just being able to trudge along.
Should we have our masks on?
No.
Okay.
This is broadcasting.
Okay.
This is news media,
Or we
baby.
should have a Perspex shield.
There is a Perspex shield.
Yep. And how have you been going?
Good.
Because you're obviously we're from the builder side.
Yeah.
And you're from the subcontractor side.
Good. I think, I'm very lucky that I have, low overheads and the work that we're doing now has been booked in for 6-12 months. So quite lucky in that sense. I think with the first lockdown, we saw a dramatic increase in the amount of leads that we were getting. And I think maybe just people having more time to think about, especially joinery for their home and whatnot. With second lockdown, I think there was a lot more apprehension, a lot more fear in the community in general. So we saw a dip. But as of the last couple of weeks, we've looked at some of the most interesting projects we've looked at in the past week or so. So it's been quite exciting.
But don't you think going forward there's going to be like, if you had I think in your sort of field, a lot of people will be doing alterations to the setup of their homes going forward on a small scale. And you'd think of the obvious ones like studies and breakout spaces.
Yeah. Oh, TV units has been crazy
Really?
lately.
Yeah.
Like probably averaging 4 or 5 DMs a day. In that sort of just a week ago, in that week, it was just crazy. 4 or 5 TV units a day.
But just trying to remodel some spaces, some existing spaces in people's houses.
Yeah.
To accommodate for the new, the way that the working world and
that's interesting.
and the schooling world may go.
Well, yeah, it's got me thinking, with my interest in that design and construct area of joinery, I have been thinking about, can we come up with a killer, TV unit product, a killer study product?
I wonder why TV though.
I think it's got something to do with that lounge unit that we built at George Street.
That's not a TV unit though, Charlie.
That's a.
That's not a TV unit.
That's what would you call it?
An entertainment unit.
It's not even a unit. It's like a.
It did come up good.
It's like a whole thing. Yeah. So that, I think there was a lot of.
But you also think about like pool builders and things like that where people aren't going to be going on.
Well, I've been
holidays, overseas holidays.
real estate agents have been saying like Mornington property and whatnot is super hot at the moment.
Or even stuff like pool renovations or external entertainment areas, alfresco areas, but outdoor kitchens, things like that. I think that's going to be a huge space.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of, work driven in that area.
Yeah.
For everyone.
Yeah, no, I think on a macro level it's fantastic. On a sort of a micro level or like on a personal level, the sort of the issue for our setup with a lot of those jobs is that the scale is a little too small.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, work's work.
Yeah, work is work, but at some point it affects the quality of the product that we can deliver to the client, or the price that we can deliver it at.
I'm talking more in general.
Yeah, on the macro, it's for sure, 100%.
Have you seen that? There's a CNC company over the West Cape, and they're doing like pod studies or breakout spaces. So it's like a flat pack little room.
Yeah,
probably a third of the size of this little studio. That's flat packed.
Yeah,
with its own. It's already set up with a desk and lights and power. And basically like within a week you're gonna have another external room, so to speak.
Yeah. I think I have seen that. It's like a
tiny room. I think it's called tiny room.
Yeah, like a kit, like a plywood kit or something.
But look at, how's that for some sort of innovation?
Yeah.
And I think, you'll see a lot of that potentially.
I think it's speeding up development, and it's speeding up shift in culture and shift in innovation, for sure.
Yeah, but it's been a interesting 4 or 5 months. That's for sure.
What about on the contractor side? How do you think there are any, I'm sure there are some permanent changes you think that they'll be happening to the industry in some way. Do you think there are going to be those changes? And if so, what are those changes?
From a management point of view, I can totally see the benefit in those remote meetings via Zoom and Teams. Because, you have to ask yourself the question, do you need to meet up and have face-to-face meetings for, all these meetings now? And the answer is probably no.
Yeah. What about just meetings in general? Do you find you're just corresponding via email more, like, or are meetings just going to Zoom, Teams?
I think there's definitely a large proportion of some of these meetings that will never have to be a face-to-face meeting again.
Yeah.
And the technology is good in terms of like sharing screens and things like that. So it's interactive. Within reason.
And also, like one I learnt from you recently, using Uber to drop off samples, parcels, whatever.
Yeah. Well, like that makes sense, doesn't it?
That saves time. That saves your trip.
Yeah, in terms of a COVID-related element, we've been doing that for a while because it is cheaper and easier to get something somewhere quickly that and you can track it happening. So and the traffic's been pretty good.
Yeah, traffic has been good. A lot less good as of 2 weeks ago, I reckon. Yeah,
but I think definitely there's going to be a change in how we do things on that level. But it has, like as I said, trying to run a site meeting, which is quite visual, and people, you're trying to explain and show and work through situations on site.
Yeah,
which that was frustrating and hard to do on that sort of platform. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
if that's the worst thing that happens, it's probably not too bad, is it?
No. From the general sense of the architectural building market, where do you see that going? Like, how are you seeing? I was talking about the influx of my leads and whatnot. How are you?
I think it's just definitely haven't seen it drop in terms of I think there's still an appetite out there for people to do things, and I think that's on the back of the on the scenarios that people will be at home more. more and more. It seems, I don't know,
Right.
going forward.
So the clients in the market, sort of the clientele in this market, perhaps haven't been so badly affected financially that they don't have money to build a home, or they might reallocate resources that would have spent doing other things to doing, a big reno or a build or something.
Absolutely.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, it doesn't, from my perspective, it doesn't seem like there's been a drop off for you. Like I've tended for a couple for you just recently.
No, I think there's still a healthy amount of work out there.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's obviously one of the great anxieties of everyone.
Yeah.
When's the next project going to come, or whatever industry you're in, or whatever work you're in, or am I going to keep my job? But you can definitely across the board. You're riding the wave of people's emotions. A lot. The people you work with, and you could tell that when people, it was tensing up in the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. I think everyone was getting a lot. There was
So is that your read from, say, contractors you were speaking to and whatnot?
Across the board, yeah.
What and how? So are people just a little more keen for work, or?
I think it'll be a lot. There'll be a slight more aggressive, or probably aggressive is not the right word, but I think they'll be a bit more competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, as of late, I've found that on a few tenders, my pricing has been high compared to where it's sitting right now. But
your pricing's been high
on some jobs, or at least and it might just be a placebo or something, or just because it's not a objective thing. But yeah, I feel like the market is more competitive now. Sort of that's what I've been hearing as well.
And what about in terms of like availability of materials on your end?
Oh, yeah. Some of the hardware's been an issue. I was seeing on the Cabinet Makers Facebook group a lot of people struggling to get hardware.
As in like your Bloom?
Yeah, so not your like most commonly
where are they made?
used. Austria. Oh, well, Bloom is Austrian. I think they're in Austria or Germany.
But are they made there?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. So like just your normal hinges and stuff. But for example, like thick door hinges, like for that unit at George Street, that was a bit hard to source. So anything out of your normal 95% consumption stuff, some of it's been a little difficult. Some board has been difficult.
That's all locally manufactured though.
But they rely on international supply chains as well.
Sure.
Laminex, Polytech, whatever. And then you have some European boards like a lot of your, like Benchtop City does their Durapal, and Nick Pole does their 2100 wide board. That's European. Overall, I think haven't had any major delays. The biggest delays have been from the lockdown and not being allowed to work in occupied homes. Obviously, we have that job in Collingwood together, and day before the install, we find out that you're not allowed to work in an apartment where anyone is living in the building at all. Aside from that, what about you? Lead times for stuff from other contractors?
Well, generally the hardcore architectural items are always been 6 to 12 weeks. And I don't think that's really, there's been some elements that have pushed out. I think you're a bit more aware of it now, but yeah. Definitely, I know that there's been a shortage of carpet supply.
Was that from like Asia or something?
I think it's just stock replenishment. Yeah, it's been hard to get stock replenishment. So yeah, they've been running out of lines of carpet. So, I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah,
it's been too drastic.
Yeah, that's why I said at the start. I think we've been pretty blessed. It's all been all right. You know, it's all been.
Yeah, you wouldn't say it's been business as usual though.
But it's not. If we compare it to some other industries who have totally stopped, or have been damaged beyond repair.
Yeah.
I think it's not too bad. Not the worst.
No, we've definitely been blessed. I think everyone's been. I think everyone's rationalised what's happened and are working well together.
Yeah.
As an industry, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think. I mean, I think there was a few tense moments in that first week or two.
Yeah. Naturally.
Where everyone was sort of finding their feet of how this was going to affect them, and how much work could they do, how much work, and but I'd be interested to see what happens in 2021. How much of this will linger?
Well, I think a few months ago, speaking to architects and whatnot, I mean, I was hearing that they were getting a lot less work. There was a sort of a decrease.
Well, that's a cycle. Well, if you want to look at what's out there, you speak to the architects because they're generally 12 to 18 months ahead of what we see.
So I think I was worried a couple of months ago about if the architects are getting, being commissioned far less to do less build.
But I'm just saying that's where there might be a shift in the type of work you do.
Yeah.
Or all of us have to do. You have to, you know what I mean? Like there might be smaller scale projects and smaller scale packages.
I think there's also an opportunity in shop fitting as...
You think?
What do you mean?
I reckon retail may never come back.
I think
What has been the furthest thing from your mind from a personal point of view in lockdown?
What, buying stuff, buying cool shit? Well, I think retail will come back, but it will be more experience focused. It's not about physically having a spot where you can buy a product. I think it's more about the retail experience, and with that transformation will come need for new spaces.
Unless it's activewear or like that sort of.
I don't think we should sort of. I don't think it's limited to any one thing.
But that's the only thing that I think. That's what I see. That's the only thing that people have been buying.
Oh yeah, in this time. Yeah. But I guess with my point with shop fitting, I think as the shopping strips are rejuvenated, as they sort of, as the bushfire ends and the regrowth happens, I think there's going to be big demand for that sort of 18 months later down the track. Maybe.
Or we can convert your new van.
Yeah.
into a taco truck.
Oh, that's one thing about. Are there good tacos around here?
Well, just cut a hole in the side of your van and let's boogie.
What will be branded as? Imperial tacos. Something you can't say.
No, I'm just thinking.
Okay.
It'll come to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
you'll let me know.
But yeah, you're right. There'll be opportunities come up to do different type of things.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced that shop fitting is it. But I think definitely like the hospitality space will change.
Yeah.
The way that, restaurants and cafes are set up will be different.
Yeah.
But it'll correct.
Can we talk a little bit about architectural building?
Did we talk about that last time?
Yeah. There's more though. I think so we've been talking lately about sort of the work that you've had come in, tender requests and whatnot. So like I'm curious as to like what is your approach to tendering, or like what is the on a fundamental level, what's that process look like for you?
Like now,
Yeah.
and how that's changed.
Well, no, just in general. It doesn't have to be relevant. It doesn't have to be in the context of COVID or whatever.
Well, in the context of COVID, you're very appreciative of the opportunity. So you want to put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
Because there is that slight anxiety about if there are going to be any more construction projects. Fundamentals the approach hasn't changed. The system hasn't changed.
Yeah.
I've never had more of a consolidated amount of projects that are sort of on the list.
Yeah.
Ever before.
Yeah. So but that tendering process is just as simple as it comes through initial understandings of, sort of project timelines, RFIs, sort of back and forth at the beginning, and then getting your contractors together to price it.
Yeah, but also too for both parties, you want to establish what you want to look at the job, and you want to make a quick sort of summarisation of what you think the job entails, and obviously what the cost is.
Yeah,
and you want to purposely get that across to the owner architect as quick as possible to work out whether everyone's aligned of where it's heading.
So like some sort of a high level estimate first, and then from there.
And I think that's a lot of the things we're doing in the last couple of weeks, months have been like that. So yeah, you want to have a really good resource of what costings and rates are on hand.
Yeah,
to be able to do that diligently and as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And I think people are trying to test where it's sitting, which is responsible as well, before they fully commit to where it's going to go to.
Yeah. Do you find often that there's that can be a really big discrepancy between the client's expectation of price and sort of, or are they generally pretty well guided by the architect? And
yeah, well, hopefully, there's the information and the due diligence has been done, generally before it gets to us. Yeah. And a sounding out process of where they wanted to take it.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. Like, I know with a few architects, I get very, very, very preliminary sort of renders, and, asked to comment where I think it's at. And I think that helps.
Yeah.
As a little check for everyone.
Yeah.
Because generally, like an architectural renovation, the fundamentals of the core pricing doesn't change a whole lot. It doesn't, in terms of like your electrical plumbing. Obviously, there's adaptations to how of what needs to be done, but the base pricing is generally very, very similar from project to project to project.
Yeah.
Because you're basically kitchens, laundries, you're redoing all those.
Yeah.
Bathrooms, the plumbing and electrical scopes in them are very similar in pricing from job to job to job.
Yeah. And so that's the thing,
and the joinery. Sorry to interrupt, but the joinery is it's quite bizarre, but is almost 10% of the tender price.
Yeah,
on the knocker almost.
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, I'm still quite often, I wouldn't say baffled, but I often come to the realization that I'm almost numb to how much joinery costs. Like you put it in perspective with, I mean, that's I guess it's high-end building in general. You sort of look at how much building costs, and then you look at how much things cost in other areas of life, and you're like, wow.
When I first started out, like it was only really kitchens, laundry, wardrobes,
vanities,
small vanities, very simple vanities,
like no drawers on the vanities and stuff.
And now it's like it's studies, entertainment units. There's 2 living spaces. So both of them have got entertainment units. You know, it's just
Outdoor kitchens.
outdoor kitchens. The inbuilt joinery, the scope is almost doubled. So therefore, you know,
What do you attribute that trend to?
I think it's a design focus in that they want to design it into the design.
So
So there's a continuity for the whole house.
So with that growth of, over the past couple of decades of individual identity and sort of individualism, has seen that sort of growth in custom,
but also too,
things in general.
Yeah, but also we live in a FOMO world as well.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of visual content.
Yeah,
and when you see something nice,
do you? Yeah, I find it really interesting. I mean, most of my clients who come to me for DNC stuff, they come to you with, Pinterest, Instagram, magazine, and it's all,
it's easy,
and
it's easy to what's the word? It's an easy way to file ideas.
And I feel like the clients are enamored by just the look and the sort of, I can't quite pinpoint what the exact elements of that appeal is. But has that been something has that just sort of died down a little bit for you? Like you see something in a magazine or you see something on Instagram and you're like, that's cool, but it doesn't have that effect on you anymore because you've seen it, you've built it, you've experienced it, sort of seen past it.
No, I don't know about that. Like we're being exposed to the Velcro mat. That's different. That's new.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like sometimes there's even this internal conflict that's like, why is this kitchen $70,000? Why are we building this? What are we doing? And I think that's just me being young and thinking about shit in a weird way.
There's no need to swear.
Thinking about things in a weird way.
What are we even talking about?
Oh, we're talking about sort of the appeal of Instagram architecture and whatnot. But then, like you said, with the Velcro mat, sometimes something comes along that's really cool. Or like you end up building something.
But don't you think there's a lot of confusion about what people want? I think people want to be edgy and different and have a bit of, have a point of difference, but...
Yeah, like a matte black kitchen.
Yeah, but then when it gets to it, they always want, I think when it gets to the determination of what they want to do, they just pare it back a little bit.
Gets a bit more conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
But I think it's actually interesting that a lot of the architects are turning to like their own renders and visualization to help communicate the idea.
Yeah, I think architects who provide some sort of a basic 3D model.
Well, I mean, we like it as builders to have to see them.
I mean, I think a render is worth 1,000 elevations in some way, So no, yeah, it is very helpful to have. I guess it helps convey their design intent as well, to some extent, and it helps us provide advice, guidance, thoughts on value management, why things may or may not.
Phone ringing, so I thought that was on silent.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it will be interesting to see how it all pans out for the rest of the year. I know. I think the industry and are all looking forward to a bit of a break.
Yeah. something else COVID related, which is something we've been thinking about a lot lately, is sort of building brand and sort of creating content around brand. Because the question that's been sitting with me after working with you for X number of months now is David's got this great product. Imperial has this great product. How is that conveyed? I feel like it's very hard for an architectural builder to sort of differentiate, in terms of that interaction with the audience, that cold interaction. I feel like it's heavily reliant on sort of, building relationships inside networks as opposed to building that brand at scale with a broader audience. So that's something that we've been thinking about, and
you've been thinking for me, yeah.
And I'm very excited about what we're going to be doing with our content boys and how they can just like I've always called it, like that first 5-10 minute conversation that you have with the client and communicating that at scale, with a larger audience. I think that'll be very valuable.
But my motivations, and I've told you this, are different to yours.
What do you mean?
Well, you're trying to keep building.
Yeah.
Mine's a pure, more of a purist, just let people know what we're up to in terms of the projects that we're doing and the projects we're coming up.
Yeah. So you're talking about on a tactical level, how like the approach to the content.
Yeah. It's more of an insight because our duration for what we do is for a longer period.
Yeah.
So, it's almost like you're wanting people to follow the journey a little bit.
But I don't even think it has to be project specific.
Why do people watch The Block and shows like that? Is it for the?
It's for the drama.
Yeah, and the journey. They want to see the journey.
It's purely for the drama.
You think?
Do you watch The Block?
I haven't watched The Block for about 5 years.
Can you watch it?
Never home early enough.
Yeah, no, I don't think that.
Oh, I mean, it's of a minute interest to me because I know one of the builders on there, Hank Gronau. So yeah, I like to see how he's
what they're doing.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I don't really subscribe to this idea of.
But our jobs are the projects are journeys.
Yeah, but I don't
stages.
I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that just because the project is long term, that the content has to be long term focused. Or stretched over a particular timeline. And I don't.
But we can give you drama if you want drama. Our content can have drama.
Yeah, but not in that way. Not in that sort of. That's it's a very cheap and short-term, disingenuous way of showing that, isn't it?
Is it? Isn't it more genuine?
On the blog?
To see how... Oh, on the blog. I'm talking about the blog.
Okay, we're not talking
who
about
knows? I mean, yeah, you and I both know that how it's viewed versus the reality of what actually happens is totally different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I'm very excited for you to...
It tries to point out the incompetency of people.
Yeah. I'm very excited for Imperial to start making content around sort of what you guys do, because I think...
Well, if you never have a go at it, how are you going to know what it's going to do and what it's going to be like? And
if you're never going to have a go with it, get a joiner who's going to have a go at it for you.
Yeah.
No, I think that's going to be exciting. I think, it's sort of...
we met on the internet, don't forget.
We met on the internet. Yeah.
Is that me again?
Yeah.
I don't know if you wrap this up, Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm excited for sort of what we're going to do on that content side. Thanks for feeling sorry for me and coming on again.
No worries. Love it. We're going to get someone else.
COVID's coming up.
Yeah.
COVID's wrapping up, so
Who we can get? Scotty Cam.
Scotty Cameron.
Scotty Cam.
Who's that?
Get Axum Build on here, actually.
Yeah, Cam's coming on.
Yeah.
Cam's coming on. We got some exciting guests. We had a whole bunch of exciting guests coming on until before lockdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you.
Awesome, Charlie.
Bye.
2 months to go.
Start the studio episode 2. Thank you. Peace.